In the 4 years since it opened its doors, the City Academy Bristol has spent £400,000 on motivating students to pass their exams.
The aim is to really say, if you work hard in life, if you really give 100%, if you really try and get to your own personal targets, then there's always a reward.
What this money has done is it's made learning and achieving cool, and the students care about doing well in their exams.
The City Academy is not alone. 5 other schools have followed suit so far, with the government handing out almost £1 million of public money between 2002 and 2006. But the schemes have proved controversial.
If you say to youngsters, well, if you're really not interested in lessons, you're not prepared to listen, you're not prepared to do anything, but actually we'll give you some money if you will, it's really not giving them a good message.
People who have large rewards work for the reward rather than do anything to change their behaviour.
So why is the idea of handing out cash for grades appealing for some but so appalling to others? And how exactly do these incentive schemes work? It all began in Bristol.
The whole scheme originally started from being a community meeting at which people were saying, what can we really do to sort of raise attainment in our local school?
The year before his school became the City Academy, Ray Priest was after a big idea. £25 million were being pumped into the new building, but what could they do about poor results?
I can't honestly tell you who had the original idea, but somebody said, well, what would happen in lots of schools is that the kids would be bought presents and gifts if they did really well in the exams. Why don't we do an equivalent sort of scheme, but actually match it with doing lots of revision activities and things like that? And then it became an idea, and then from that point, our community development worker actually wrote a bid. He put a bid together.
Since the Achievement and Incentive Scheme began, the Academy has become one of the most improved schools in the country. GCSE results have risen from 25% 5A to Cs to over 50%. But this has come at a price.
£38,000 was awarded last year, and that included, of course, quite a number of bursaries for students going on to university at £500 each. That was a massive increase on the first couple of years because of the achievement of the students.
Abdi is preparing to take 9 GCSEs this year and could earn £240. His family originally came from Somalia and as refugees settled in East Bristol.
I want to do well because for my family and for myself, and I want to go to university, but I'm not sure what to study. I don't know, not now anyway.
At the core of the incentive scheme is having each pupil agree personal target grades in exam subjects. Like everybody else, when Abdi achieves a target, he'll get £10. If he gets a higher grade, he'll get £15. He'll get an additional £150 for 5 A to C passes that include maths and English.
The financial reward is very important. Students should get the money, and that they should be rewarded for all the hard work that they've put in for 2 years, and it has motivated me in a way. I think as it's some, yeah, it does motivate me. Like sometimes I think, oh, I do it for the GCSEs and for good qualifications in future, but also I'm thinking that I could do something with the money. I might need it in future, so work for it.
I'm always asked if the money could be spent in better ways, and at the end of the day, I think what this has helped us do is get young people through the benchmark grades that they need to progress in their lives. I can't think of a better way to spend any money than that, and so we do in schools all sorts of things to move achievement forward, and as this was not school funding, it came from outside, I don't actually think it was for me to determine.
The entire funding for the incentive scheme has been guaranteed for 6 years by New Deal for Communities. This government initiative is administered in Bristol by Community at Heart.
What the NDC programme's all about, what we're about, is trying to make people do things differently. You've got a culture, a cycle that needs to be broken in communities. Perhaps parents aren't particularly convinced that school works, that brothers and sisters don't back each other up a little bit in terms of you've got to be there every day in, day out. So sometimes a school can can add to that cycle by not taking attainment seriously and not doing things differently. City Academy Bristol effectively was part of our decision-making group, including parents and residents. We identified that we needed a big intervention, something innovative, something that was going to be quite risky at Key Stage 4 to raise attainment at GCSE level. So they came forward with a proposal. Now that proposal was very contentious, so there was a very healthy debate, and on principle some people were uneasy with the concept of paying children to pass exams, but we rationalised it quite strongly by saying that the majority of children that are going to benefit live in areas of disadvantage. Hence it's a neighbourhood renewal approach, so that in effect what we were doing was replicating what many middle class families or families across the board may well do in terms of incentivising success, and that seemed to be a really good rationale behind the project, and it went through on a casting vote.
Students at the Academy stand to make a lot of money from this scheme if they do well in their GCSEs. Gemma is just window shopping today, but she hopes to be back in a few months' time with money to spend.
I'm hoping to get about £250, but any money's good money. I'll probably go and buy some clothes. I might save some just because otherwise I'll be broke forever, but I'll probably go and buy some clothes and some stuff for my room. For me, financial rewards aren't that important. I think they're just a really good bonus because I'm actually really wanting to get the GCSEs whether the money was there or not.
Managing the many aspects of the incentive scheme and the constant liaison with teachers, pupils and parents is a job in itself, one that's fully funded by the scheme.
I think it's had a really big impact on the ethos of the school. We provide a lot of support for the students to help them with their exam preparation, so we provide revision classes in the holidays and at the weekends, so teachers come in and can provide that one-to-one support. We also give the students textbooks and revision books so that they can revise on their own at home, and provide funding to take them on theatre trips or history revision trips so that they can really understand the play they're studying or the history course they're doing. But it's also about keying into the things that make a difference to students. How can a teacher turn around students who don't want to learn? How can they impact on that? And what this money has done is it's made learning and achieving cool.
Another cool thing, according to students, is that parents don't get their hands on the money. The Academy puts it directly into the pockets of the pupils.
Hello Jade, all right, I'm student manager. All right, do you want to take
Jade hopes she'll be banking over £240 later this summer after taking 9 GCSEs.
The money I receive, I will put it in my bank so I can, when I go to college, I can buy books and stuff, equipment that I need. Because I want to go on to do further things. I want to stay in education and hopefully get my own business running and one day become a lawyer. The money is important to me because when I'm sat down to my work, I know I got something to look forward to when I finish. So it helps me in a way.
There may be nothing new about incentives, but book tokens seem to have gone out of fashion. Here at Hartcliffe School in Bristol, a ride in a limo is the reward for sustained good attendance. And at Bournemouth and Poole College, they hope to lure back over 16s no longer in education with the promise of iPods. But only a few schools have been able to replicate the scale of the City Academy scheme. Parkside Community College in Plymouth is one of them.
When we talked to staff, we identified that there were certain aspects that could be improved. There were things like completing coursework to standard. We also found that there wasn't much of a link really between learning and earning potential in the students' minds, and that was very interesting and very important to us. That's why the project is called Learn and Earn, and we try very hard to make those linkages.
When you think about this, a lot of families in more affluent areas do give their children rewards for achieving well examination results. I mean, you hear all sorts of things. I'll give you £10 for every C you get, £20 for a B, £30 for an A, you know, and a lot of students talk about that.
At the time when we looked at it, we had some budgetary constraints, but we also felt really there were some tensions if we paid out of the school budget for this, and we felt really that we wanted to get the community on board.
Parkside College was only getting 15% C grades and above in GCSE and wanted to improve. It managed to persuade the local Regeneration Partnership to provide funding.
The community of Devonport during the 80s had a reputation as an unsavoury area of Plymouth due to the activities of some of the youngsters. It's nicknamed Beirut because they were setting light to cars, then attacking the fire brigade when they came in. There's been a huge turnaround in the children's behaviour. And I think it's all down to, you know, the discipline of learning and being encouraged to. Our aim is that they can come back into the area, maybe start businesses, you know, once they've, you know, if they might go off to university, study there, come back with ideas, you know, how to improve the community, because even though, like in 2011, the Devonport Community Partnership would have ceased to exist, there are tools in place to carry on with the regeneration, and hopefully these adults of the future will take an active part in that.
We're seeing more and more students now going along and saying, I want to go to university. And when I started here in 1996, you wouldn't have heard that being talked about. And if they go to university, obviously, you know, their own aspirations are raised, and their children's aspirations hopefully will be raised, and it will have a knock-on effect in the community.
The project would seem to have made a difference. Students among the 35% who got 5 A to Cs in 2005 agree it pushed them to do better.
With my mates, I noticed a stark difference when they got into year 10, when they started learning in a scheme, that they was getting money for their coursework grades and stuff like that, that they was actually putting the effort in, they was getting it on time, and they was generally listening in class and stuff like that. Just generally performing a lot better in school and wanting to achieve more.
I didn't expect to do as well as I did in like the language subjects, as in mainly English. It just made me realise that because I did get fairly good grades for that, I could go on and do a subject like law at college, which I've always wanted to do, but I'd never thought that I'd be like good enough.
I had to pay for my college course I was going to do, so I had to get the money from that to contribute to that, which I ended up getting enough money to pay for it all, so I didn't have to borrow no money or anything. So that was good.
It's not a bribe, it's just a focused way of helping students be confident in their work and to get on and do it, and it's just a reward for their hard work. Students who put everything into it, who want to pass, who want to have a good future, that's the reward they get.
Part of the great thing about this project is in October we see all the students who have achieved so much, and we all get together with their parents and celebrate their success.
Well, when I was standing there, I was thinking, man, I'm proud of myself for this. I don't think I've ever done this well, and I hope my mum's proud of me too. So, yeah, it was really a great night, and I'd love to relive it again.
During its first 3 years, £89,000 has been invested in Learn and Earn. After evaluating it, the LEA recommended it should continue.
The fact that a lump of money is made available to a school to improve motivation and improve results is all very well. But the real trick is how the leadership team in the school and the staff themselves respond to it and get the best for students as they move forward with it. In this case, it seems to have happened rather well.
Some schools may have caught the mood of the times by giving away cash. Money, image and status, all these things are important to many young people. But the concept of disaffected youngsters being given money to do better has ruffled feathers.
We're saying, if you say to youngsters, well, if you're really not interested in lessons, you're not prepared to listen, you're not prepared to do anything, but actually we'll give you some money if you will, it's really not giving them a good message, because employers are not going to say, well, you know, if you don't work very hard, we'll give you a target and then we'll pay you. They're going to say, you either work hard or you're not getting paid, full stop. And, you know, how have we then prepared them?
I think for some people it is hard to understand what it is like to grow up in a deprived area and to actually be in a household where it is difficult to reward your children for doing well. And I think that comes down to the main issue of it. And I think until people understand the background and the circumstances of the young people and their families, then it is difficult for those people to criticise the scheme.
But could the government have a hidden motive for granting funding for incentive schemes? The parent-teacher associations think so.
With all the best will in the world, I think our concern has got to be that they're actually trying to reach their targets, which look good politically, rather than giving children what they really need, which is the best deal, and that's overall support for all children without any groups singled out.
We put this point to the Department of Communities and Local Government, which has an education budget in its New Deal for Communities programme. It said, New Deal for Communities have been given the flexibility to identify their area's problems and find solutions, raising educational achievement, aspiration and ambition, which others may take for granted, is key in these areas. Positive change is happening. Innovative ideas, which at first may raise eyebrows, are being tried and seem to be working.
We want them to be enthused by learning, enthused by their teachers, and interested enough in what they're doing to want to achieve themselves. If you've got to pay them, then somewhere along the line, education's sadly failing them.
This isn't a view shared by the City Academy, Bristol.
Amongst the students themselves, they talk about how they're going to do in their GCSE, what their target grades are, and it's very cool to do well, and I think that's a massive important thing that the scheme is able to achieve that teachers would find very difficult to impact.
The Academy students are sitting their GCSEs. After 2 years of support, help with revision, out-of-hours tutoring and the prospect of earning cash, Abdi, Gemma and Jade are keen to show what they're made of. Even if the incentives have paid off for them, critics of the scheme say the money might be a quick fix. Charles Ward has been an educational psychologist for 16 years.
I wonder whether there are real long-term advantages to offering large rewards. All the psychological evidence shows that people who have large rewards work for the reward rather than do anything to change their behaviour. It misses the point, and it assumes that cash is the important incentive in life. And it teaches that in a way, doesn't it? And there's more to life than that. Fulfilled adults are continuing learners in life, learning about new things, learning more about things that they know, and getting pleasure, intrinsic pleasure from that. I'm sure that the Academy will be right if they say they've changed the ethos of their school and their community. What I would challenge is that a cash incentive scheme of this nature is what has done that. It would be much more the close working with parents, the involvement of parents, and the creation within the local community of a value and a valuing of education, whereas big cash incentive schemes probably will be encouraging people to value the cash and see education as a means towards that.
East Brighton's Farmer High School was part of a pilot scheme in 2004 which used cash incentives. £50 vouchers funded by New Deal money were given to students that completed coursework and attended exams. Farmer's head teacher says although he didn't refuse the money, he's not sure cash was a motivator.
If you were to ask me whether I thought it had an impact, I would say it was inconclusive. I don't think you could attribute any sort of major gain from the voucher scheme that year. And I'm not convinced that a voucher scheme on its own is the answer, and I think there are other strategies that the school could use and has used since that actually has made a difference.
Through some about these revision strategies and things you need to be doing in preparation for your exams. Okay. How are you feeling about your exams?
In 2005 we changed the way that we operated. We employed learning mentors, and their primary role was to target able underachievers. We had a picture of what they should be able to achieve, and then we asked the staff to actually tell us what they were online to achieve, and those that we felt were not going to hit their target grades, we attached them to a learning mentor.
The results seem to indicate this approach is working, with a jump from 22% 5 A to Cs to 32%. Farmer High serves one of the most deprived areas of Britain, where students come with a range of barriers to learning. Funding from the Excellence in Cities project has paid for 24 students to be mentored.
I'm in year 10 at the moment, and I started mentoring last week, and we had a group where we all got together and they told us what we'd get out of it, and like the grades, and they help us get from maybe a C to a B or an A. And I just think that I'm lucky, and if it weren't for this mentoring service, then I think that I'd sort of feel on my own a bit with the grades, and that like it's up to me to do it on my own. Like, I've got no help at all. I think that it's a bit ridiculous that people should have to pay like money just for children to turn up at college. I'm not complaining if I get money or anything, because you wouldn't mind, but it's just, what's the point in having to pay? It's your problem. If you don't get your grades, you don't get your grades. You haven't got a good job when you're older.
How are you feeling, Jen? A little bit nervous?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm scared about maths.
Yeah, maths was a bit difficult, wasn't it? But at least you'll know what you're going to handle in about an hour.
That must be Ricky.
Oh, good luck.
I'm really scared now.
Give us a ring the minute you get them.
Yeah, see you later. Bye. Where are you going later? Oh, I think we're going to Italian, but I'm not sure. Italian? Yeah, we might go to Nando's.
Nando's?
Sure. Yeah. I was supposed to go to the curry house.
It's the big moment at City Academy Bristol. 160 students who took GCSEs and GNVQs before the summer have come to find out how well they've done and how much they've earned.
Gemma? There you are, darling. Abdi, there you go.
1, 2, 3. Gemma's a good girl. Oh my god! I got an A in maths. Did you? Yeah! I'm not even joking.
Lots of C's and D's.
Dancy. I thought I was going to do better in that actually. Yeah, but it's still a grade, so that's okay.
So your target in BV was an E and you got an E, so that's £10. History E and you got a D, so you passed your target, so that's £15. IT, what did you get for IT?
It's P.
P, which is a pass. And so you get £40 for that. And science, your target was an E and you got a double E, so that's £20. So what does that add up to? I think it's £115. So mixed result, but you're pleased? Yeah. And science, your target was C and you got 2 A's, so that's £30. Plus £150 for 5 HCs, which means it looks like about £310.
Jade hasn't turned up, and her envelope remains uncollected 2 hours later. When we catch up with her, she tells us she met only 4 out of 9 target grades. Instead of £240, she'll bank just 40.
Well, we've got 50% 5 HCs, which is absolutely great. Last year we had 51%, so it's consolidated that, because the year before that we got 33%. So it's moved right up. I think a lot of the students, I did a questionnaire with them, and half of them said it acted as an incentive and half said as a reward. So I think when they get their checks in a few weeks' time, I think they'll really feel like I worked hard and I got a reward for it.
Parkside, using the cash incentive model, broke their own record with 58% of students getting C or above. Farmer High, using mentoring, had their best results in 2006, and over 50% of supported students got 5 A to Cs. So the benefits of cash incentives remain inconclusive.
I think what we're really saying is, okay, the scheme may work for some kids, it may have some merit in it, but, you know, are we making best use of the money? Because at the end of the day, the money for this organisation to run the scheme has got to come from central government and from taxpayers' money. It's got to come from part of an education budget somewhere, and it's money that we could perhaps be using for the same youngsters, but in another environment that will be beneficial to them, or more beneficial to them.
But I suppose at the bottom line, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. I think what my concern is that it won't necessarily be the thing that produces the results. and it won't produce the changes in children that they really want to achieve.
I'm a great believer that success breeds success, and what we've tried to do over the last 2 or 3 years is try and create a culture of success in the school, a can-do culture where young people know that if they work hard and do their best in school, they will achieve.
It has been brought to my attention that people have accused this scheme of being a bribe incentive towards it, but I think people are just completely misinformed. Until they find out what it's about and how it encourages pupils to learn, they should choose their words more carefully.
This year we've spent about £30,000 on our incentive schemes and on our grants for young people going to university. That has meant that more people are going on to university, that more people are passing their GCSEs, and that's got to be good news, and frankly that means money well spent. It's not the school's money, it's money that the community have earmarked for this particular activity, so that's a good thing. And if you look at us nationally, the amount of value added that this school is really putting in for young people is tremendous. I think it's in the top 5% of schools nationally for value added, and we're going to continue to be there, and the incentive scheme is part of that.
Whatever the argument for or against, in practical terms, the incentive scheme at the Academy won't continue if they can't replace their New Deal funding.
The money runs out in 2008, and part of my remit is to look for private sponsorship of both the incentives and the funding which goes towards all the extra provision for the students. I just need to persuade private businesses that this is a worthwhile cause.